Well, we think that if NGOs can subsidize this money, obviously money is needed. We think that obviously more money coming from governments will result in better living conditions or result in better infrastructure, right? More than that, we think that there can be better governmental support for these refugee camps, which are clearly better for these refugees in the very first place. And in fact, that brings me precisely to my third point of contention, right? The whole idea about how we're benefiting the people. Because we think that on the very least, right, even if we accept on their side of the house that they're going to help refugees, we think that we help these refugees better. Why? Because we think that the living conditions of these refugees are going to be much better on our side of the house. Why is this so? Because the more money you pump into refugee camps, the more money is going to be taken off your debt, off your principal sum. Therefore, we incentivize countries to not just provide the basic necessities for these refugees in terms of giving them tents or water or whatever. We provide them, we encourage them to provide higher level amenities as well, right? Things like setting up schools for them, or things like setting up infrastructure for them, or giving them more land for agriculture or whatever. Not because we think these all can be quantified as costs that they have given out, and therefore can be subsequently lowered from their debt. So on our side, we have a more sustainable solution that helps them to go forward even more, and helps us to provide for these refugees even more, right? Then let's deal with the whole odd idea about on their side of the house. The last idea before I move on to my substantive material, which is the whole idea about these countries abetting gross human rights violations and whatever not, and how the international law is going to punish them by throwing these leaders into jail. Now we think on their side of the house this is just completely rubbish, because firstly you're not going to throw people into jail. We think that if you can't even get Assad out of Syria, you probably can't throw these leaders into jail for not taking in refugees, and the grounds is really on their side very minimal. But secondly, we also think that even if they're going to be able to do this is not in accordance with international law. Why? Simply because international law has always been about proportionality. And on their side of the house, no thank you. They disproportionately harm not just the refugees, because now there's so much public backlash against them. They harm the rest of the country as well. They're faulting an entire country for not taking a couple of refugees by throwing their leader into jail. So we think on their side of the house, it completely doesn't stand. No thank you. I'm moving on to my substantive now, about how in the long term we're going to help to formulate an international action plan for refugees. The thesis for this argument is very simple. My thesis is that we're going to create and solidify a response plan for acting on increasingly common refugee situations. Right? Because if we see the environmental situation in these days and the political instability, we're going to expect even more refugees to be coming out in the possible future. Right? We're going to expect more of these refugee situations, and we need to come up with concrete plans. What is in the status quo today? The status quo is that the UN High Commission for Refugees is the only body that takes care of these refugees. This means that they formulate all action plans and they try and compel countries to, for some altruistic reason or because of goodwill, to take in refugees. They have very little political power in terms of compelling these countries. And more importantly, the problem here is that they don't have the funds to do so. This means that countries have to fork out costs out of their very own pocket, which makes it even more difficult to compel them to take in these refugees. Right? How does our policy change this problem? Our policy, first and foremost, gives a steady monetary supply towards these problems, right? Why? Because so many countries are in debt and so many countries want to clear their debt. Then we think that necessarily there's always going to be some country that will be willing to take in refugees in order to offset their debt. Therefore, there's at the very least comparatively more money going towards the refugee problem. Secondly, it's a sustainable money source. Why? Because we think that the UN programs are notorious for having to cut down their resources, right? For instance, UN food aid programs are always being cut short because there's just simply not enough money in the UN that relies on voluntary donations from its member states. Therefore, we think that when you force countries to offset their debt, by helping refugees, what you have is a sustainable solution because they want to keep offsetting their debt. This means that refugees are going to get continuous amounts of money to help their conditions, right? But thirdly, we think that the most important thing is that this brings the IMF and the World Bank into the fray of the UN as well, right? It brings a collective international action that helps care for the refugees because ultimately they're part of the international community and the international community needs to care about them. Because we're the side that champions refugees and because we're the side that truly brings about concrete action, I'm so proud to propose.